two, one. Okay, hey guys. So I am back with another interview, and this is pretty cool. Actually, I was kind of very much looking forward to. Sorry, I was very much looking forward to doing this interview, because this is the first time that we, obviously, this channel started out as primarily, like a mostly it basically started out as like Asian men, Black women, right, and then branched out to Asian men, white, female. But I, like I said before in other videos, sort of controversial topic on this channel, is that I'm trying to expand this channel so that it has more broad appeal. So that's why that is a large, sorry, that is a huge reason why I am you know speaking with you today. So, but obviously, as customary on this channel, I always let the guests introduce themselves. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, well, I go by Maia, and I'm Hispanic. I'm originally from Chile, but I currently live in Canada. I'm very much immersed in a multicultural community my entire life. I am 33 and I'm single.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, so Maya, I was doing a little bit of research on you before, and I sort of browsed through your social media, including your Facebook and Instagram, and I
Mhm.
noticed that a big part of, well, like not big, pretty much like most, if not all, of your social media is dominated by what do you call it, social energies, or like energy, stuff like that, or like signs, what's your sign, all that type of stuff. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, and then sort of what is your main sort of interest in that?
So my pages are because I'm a psychic medium and a Reiki master, so I actually do Reiki healing. So I'm very much my approach is very much in terms of holistic well-being. So I focus on overall holistic health. So that includes mind, body, spirit, emotional health, mental health, and physical health. So a lot of what you do see on my pages is all about positive thinking, you know, um, messages from the universe, things that people might need to know, guidance, and things like that. I'm very intuitively able to pick up on certain things. So I've naturally expanded this gift over, I guess you could say, the last 15 years. And now I'm making more of an online presence, because usually my presence was more like day to day, physically connecting with people, because I'm also a social worker, so I do I've done like life coach training, grief counseling, and regular counseling, and things like that. So I'm very tapped into the psychological aspect of the day-to-day things, and especially in terms of mental health. So I do a lot of that as well, and I'm also trying to gear a lot towards physical health and like clean eating, healthy, drinking lots of water, getting fresh air, all that good stuff. Yeah,
Wow, yeah, that sounds awesome. That is something.
it's a lot.
No, no, that's awesome. On this channel, we have talked about before, like a lot of sort of like how you just mentioned, a lot of just like in like thinking very positively, and like a lot of positive thinking and whatnot. So we definitely have spoken to a few people about that. But as far as like just I guess more like physical and like physical and also what's it called? Spiritual way of thinking. You know what I mean? That's something that we have yet to really delve into this channel. And I know that, I mean, honestly, like I don't know how many dates I've been on the past. I don't know, like over 10 years now, where I've literally had all my dates pretty much ask me, okay, so like oh, I'm you know, sorry. Like I'm brain block right now. Basically, yeah, like a lot of my dates were into, okay, yeah, so what's your sign and all that stuff, and all that stuff. And like for me personally, I would always sort of be confused first, because I was like, why are they asking me that? Because for me personally, prior to that, I hadn't really heard of that a whole lot, and I wasn't really familiar with it, and so I was wondering why people kept asking me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how as being who I am, I always knew that this period of time would actually come, and it's actually like the period of what's it called, the age of Aquarius. It's kind of slowly trickling in. So a lot of people now are all about, oh, what's your sun sign and what's your moon sign. So like I see it everywhere all the time, and it's actually it's amusing and wonderful at the same time. But I do feel that, a lot of people are slightly misguided, and others aren't, so it's very interesting to see how all of that's kind of unrolling right now in the last couple of years. But yeah, no, it's a lot more frequent now. If anything, I'm seeing that.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Hmm.
So yeah, so thank you very much for that. That's very, very interesting, and I will circle back to it in a bit. But I just want to obviously, want to sort of touch upon like a broader subject, and which is the main topic of this website, or not
Yeah.
website, but like, YouTube channel. So what is your, I'll just get right to it. What is your experience dating outside your race, and particular, dating, people that like, look like me, or Asian guys in general?
Well, I've like I don't have like a huge dating history, but most like of the people that I've dated, especially from like my youth until I guess most recently, I think everyone except for like maybe one person was within my own race. And that was like a summer fling when I was like 18 or something. So I don't know, like would I really consider it, but yeah, only this is the only like other Hispanic person that I've ever actually dated. I've dated Asian men like yourself. I've dated Black men. I've dated all sorts of men, actually. South Asian men, people from different parts of Africa, Jamaica. I dated, yeah, lots. Well, not lots, but
No, no, yeah,
I've
no.
dated like not within my own race. And it's not to say that I don't dislike men within my race. To me specifically, it comes down to a person as an individual. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't have a specific like type. To me, it's really comes down to who you are as a person and what you bring to the table. Of course, there's always features in terms of attractiveness, but I actually think that most people are attractive, as they are. Especially when you're comfortable in your own skin, and like what you want, and who you are as a person. I think that that confidence in yourself kind of exudes, right? So it comes off differently. So when you're looking for a partner, that really kind of, at least for me, that really is a big connection. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's awesome, and I'm sure that a lot of the guys that watch this channel will be very pleased to hear that, because I know personally, speaking from my perspective, I have gone out with mostly women outside my race, with the exception, I guess, of one, but or one or two, but yeah, like yourself, I think like sort of as I've gotten older too, and I've matured, um, I've realized that yes, like you can't really sort of predict or sort of try to sort of like limit yourself to just one type of trait or whatever only, what I mean, because really kind of like finding love is very unpredictable,
It is.
and so you pretty much have no control over it, despite how much you tell yourself or think you will, predict you will. That being said, the topic of this channel is Asian men
Yeah, it's kind of
XF.
unpredictable, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so but yeah, so sort of like I said, like there are a lot of Asian men who are interested. I know a lot, especially going back to the title of this channel, that are very interested in dating outside their race. And I think a big part of that, big factor is sort of that maybe prevents them from trying, is their fear of rejection. And especially like we said before in this channel countless times, the media does not do a bang up job of basically boosting our confidence. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
very much a very negative portrayal of Asian men, especially of us, I guess. And for me personally, like I said, I've had different experiences. I've gone from sort of like very naive, very inexperienced, to making a lot of mistakes, to meeting, to having sort of unfortunate, experiences that didn't necessarily end well, may have started kind of fast and sudden and, exciting, but then they sort of burned out or didn't really go anywhere. Um, and so I was just wondering, for you, is that something that you have encountered too as well, like in your sort of dating experiences? Because age-wise, we're actually very similar. So I was just wondering, like, maybe like in your 20s or teens, did you ever sort of go through anything like that?
Um, sort of not really. I think maybe when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, I kind of had a period like that. Um, but I've really tried to focus on like my own self growth, to help me when it comes to finding good relationships that don't end up like that, right? So it's like so there's more of a consistency, right? And I think that has a lot to do with I was mentioning this to a friend the other day, that a lot of people jump into relationships, and like they said, they kind of burn out fast, and part of that is because we're jumping one after the other, instead of taking that time for ourselves in between, to kind of focus on our own self growth, and little things like that, to again have that confidence. Because even though the media and our social environments or our communities, they're not as helpful as we would like them to be, in terms of instilling that confidence, especially in young men, because I've noticed that, especially when I was younger, I could tell when somebody was nervous talking to me, and likely because they might have had a crush, or they get just kind of nervous, and like I could tell, right? So me being who I am, I try to ease that, to make them feel a bit more comfortable. But yeah, no, I've noticed that, especially with younger kids, like I'm a little bit older now, but I've worked with youth and children, right? So like that's why I say that I see it with younger kids, because I see how they kind of jump, and they get really excited with like this new relationship, and everything's going great, and then there's either like a codependency, or there's I don't know, too quick too fast, and things kind of don't develop at a good rate, so like you said, it kind of like burns out and fizzles out really quickly because of that, instead of taking the time to lay down the groundwork and build those foundations, get to know each other, especially when it comes to interracial dating. Getting to know each other is a really big thing, because there's a lot of cultural differences, and there's also similarities, like you said, with Asians and Hispanics. There's a lot of similarities, actually. Even like with Filipinos, I often get mistaken for being Filipino, and I don't speak Tagalog, but I have made a point to kind of learn a few little phrases here and there for when people actually approach me and they're speaking Tagalog, and I'm like, I don't. Sorry. But there's only so much that I actually know in terms of that. But I I do think a lot of it comes down to like I said, laying that groundwork, that foundation, and knowing who you're with, knowing who you're with, where they come from, what their roots are, what kind of values they have in their life, beliefs, upbringings, all those things are so important. And I think that goes even further than just even just interracial dating. I think just dating as a general, that's extremely important to kind of know.
Yeah, thank you very much for all of that. It's very, I can relate to a lot what you're saying. So, and by the way, you're not old at all, because I'm practically the same age as you, and I'm not old at all. So no
No,
one's old.
I don't think I'm old. I know that. I used to work at an elementary school. My kids used to tell me I was old, like my students, but they're like 7 years old, 8, 9, and they would be like, "Oh, but you're like 50, right?"
Yeah, no.
No, I'm not that old.
Well, no, yeah, honestly, at that age, I could honestly sort of understand, because when you're younger, like everyone seems, a lot older. Everyone just seems old. Like 30 seems ancient. So no, not at all. Yeah. So I had a question too, and this is sort of kind of related, unrelated. It's something that I brought up too, because I actually have written. I've gone the extra mile and actually tried to sort of monetize my dating experiences by writing a dating guide based on all 200 or so dates that have been on the past decade. It's made okay.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so I've made like almost $30 off it so far. So, a win is a win. A win is a win. But yeah, so
progress is still progress. So
yeah, but
that's the way it is.
one thing that I want to write, and I don't know how like women feel, because I've never really asked them how they, how they felt about it, really talked to them about it. One thing I wrote in there is that, one thing that I've learned from the course of dating in my 20s opposed to dating in my 30s is that women in their 20s and younger, like in your 18, 19, whatever, and, up through, until like your age 29, 30, they kind of don't really know what they want. They don't know what they want. And it's something that I don't think is vocally expressed or really admitted. But women in their 30s and up, especially my fiance, she was like, or ex-fiance, she was like 44. Women like that, like older women, they tend to sort of know what they want and tend to mellow out a lot more. And I also want to say this, I want to get your opinion on this too. Do you agree that guys in their 20s are more mellow than like, girls in their 20s?
That's a tricky question, because I think it varies. It varies in terms of social communities, because I've actually seen like different areas, because I've also traveled to certain places too. So like I see how, people are in different countries as opposed to like Canada, or like different communities within Canada, whether it's like the inner cities or like the suburbs or the rural areas, right? I think it really varies. But overall, I do agree that young women usually don't tend to know exactly what they want. It's the same thing with young men. I do think that both sexes tend to kind of mellow out slightly during their mid-20s, whereas men sort of, and I think women, as they get older, they tend to kind of get sick of the dating aspect and kind of turn to, I want to settle down, I want this, I want that, and they kind of have like a repertoire of, a list of everything that they do want, and they want to make sure that whoever they speak to, they have to at least, check off some of those things. Otherwise, they're not going to waste their time. And I think, men need to have that same aspect going into it, and that goes back to the whole, being able to have that self growth within yourself, to be able to recognize what it is you want out of a relationship, because there's a lot of different things that we want. Do we want intimacy? We want communication. We want someone who's going to be understanding, that's going to listen and communicate effectively. We want, a loyalty, all these different things, and it varies, right? I mean, people are so different, right? And a lot of that comes from our upbringings and our communities and how we're influenced by them. Because I do see, like, when I worked in the cities, I saw teenagers behave so much more differently than what I see teenagers behaving in like South America, or teenagers behaving out in like the farm countries and stuff. There's in the farm there's a lot more sense of responsibility, and I think a lot of that has to do because there's not as much uh, social influence or media influence. Whereas in the inner cities, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of keeping up with celebrities, keeping up with social media, and all that stuff. So I think it really varies. Yeah.
I definitely wholeheartedly agree. Definitely agree. Yeah, it's just because I remember, not to ramble on, but like I remember I said this in my book, and I said this in other interviews before on this channel too. I've met, out of all the people in my 34 years of life that I've met so far, I met the worst person ever when I was 29 and she was 30. And it was it was basically, she didn't live here, she lived in Denver, so it was like long distance. I told the story so many times before, I'm not going to tell it here, but basically, long story short, she ended up quote unquote dumping me the night before I was supposed to fly back. And so I didn't have anywhere else to stay, so I had to stay at her apartment. And then that was the worst. Yeah, and then the worst night, worst flight ever. Basically, I was in a very emotional state, very vulnerable state. And everyone watching this, especially to all the guys watching this, don't ever make this mistake. I've said this before, but this cannot be said enough. I gave her $3,000, basically to loan her because she, said that she needed to go back to school. And I was 29 when I did this. Okay, so I wasn't like a kid or whatever, So I definitely should have known better. But I was in a vulnerable state, so I basically, long story short, she's the worst person ever. I haven't seen a penny of that money back. I'm not going to.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to at this point.
No, but it's I can laugh about it now because it was so long ago, but it is a lesson learned,
Yeah.
to not go after. Basically, I had to narrow down my search and not do certain things that I did back then when I was a little bit younger or whatever. But anyway, so everyone watching, y'all know that story. I'm not gonna go into it. It'll give me like a headache. But basically, no. So I just have a few more questions for you. But so again, sort of, like I said, you are the first, Hispanic person that I've interviewed, on this channel, and for me, that's pretty cool. Again, I don't know how to word this correctly. So yeah, this is kind of, quote unquote new experience. I mean, it's not like I've never talked to, someone like you before, anything like that, or interviewed. It's just on this channel. So I don't want to seem like, this first person that I've ever talked to that was, Hispanic or, Latina. But I do want to bring it up because it's interesting because like you said before, Hispanics and, Asians have culturally, there are a lot of similarities, I feel like too. I agree with you on that. And I feel like the family component is a big, strong aspect of that. I feel like, yeah, absolutely. And, obviously I don't have to speak for myself. I know that, I'm very close to my family and whatnot, but I've been around a lot of, non-Asians too, and especially Hispanics. Like their family is very, very, very tight knit, maybe even more than us. Actually, yeah, they are, but it's up there definitely. And I have sort of random but cool ties to the Hispanic community. I used to work in a Spanish language news station. Just yeah. But if I told you, you probably wouldn't guess it or whatever, or like heard of it, because it's like the third lowest rated one out there besides Telemundo, and I keep forgetting the other one. Anyway, Yeah, so it's the closest one. Basically, if you're like 80 years old, you probably watch it. But other than that, no. But no. So sorry, I'm just sort of getting off tangent. Basically, sort of focusing it. So like I said, I know there are again, a lot of Asian guys who, and this is not a stereotype, okay? For you, for everyone watching right now, whatever. This is not a stereotype. Asian guys have a problem with self confidence. A lot of them are shy. Okay, a lot of them, may want to talk to someone outside of the race who's white, Latina, black, whatever, what I mean, Native American, South Asian, whatever. But they don't, but because they assume that, that girl doesn't, like their type or whatever, or, isn't into that type, that they don't, they won't even bother. They won't even try. For me, I'm the opposite. Like, if I like someone, I'll approach them. If I get rejected, whatever, I don't care. At least I tried, you
At
know?
least you tried,
Yeah,
and that's the key, right? Because
absolutely.
if you don't try, you'll never know, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Well,
mhm.
I just want to, for like, all those, guys who are, more in like the shy circle, whatever, shy type. Um, like what would you give, sort of just like three general pointers, what I mean, to sort of, like give them confidence or, feeling better about themselves in order to sort of just approach anyone, whether, they're white, black, or, brown or anything like that.
um, I think I think a big thing is again having that confidence in yourself. Try to speak with good clarity. When you approach someone, maybe try and think in your head how you want to approach them, and it doesn't have to always be a pickup line or something crazy. It can just be, "Hi, how are you?" or "I think you're pretty." I mean, I feel that sincerity and confidence really gets you a long way, and people can tell when you're being genuine. I might be different, but like if somebody comes to me with like a corny pickup line or kind of like I don't really go for that. I very much would prefer someone who's genuine, that wants to have a conversation, or just says, "Hi, hope you're having a great day," or "Oh, you look so nice." It's like, "Oh, well, thank you. It's very nice of you to say, I hope you have a great day too," or something, and you can always start off conversations that way. But I think that, like you were saying, you at least try. And I think that's a really key thing, sometimes you put yourself out there, and yes, it makes you vulnerable, and you might face rejection 9 out of 10 times, which is not very nice. Nobody likes rejection, but at least you're trying and you're putting yourself out there, right? Because if you don't try, you'll never know. And then what happens with that is that doubt lingers in your head, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and it makes it worse later on, right? Because then you already have that doubt from before, like, oh, especially like rejection. If you let rejection simmer in your head, it'll stay, and then it'll grow and it'll grow. So it's the same concept, right? If somebody rejects you, it's just, you can't take it personal. It's not meant to be, and you know what, it's probably better off for you, because maybe it wasn't a good match, and the powers that be, or the universe, or however you want to see it, is kind of steering you in the direction of, hey, that's not for you. So at the end of the day, you have to trust that whatever is for you will find you regardless, right? So if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If you try, then at least you can say you tried, and if you failed, then so be it. Doesn't mean that you can't try again. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's not very nice when you keep getting rejected. It sucks. It's
No, no, nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. And I like with my old students, like the younger students, that a lot of they used to get that, you know, like not necessarily rejection from like dating or anything, but like rejection in its own self, you know, like with friends or peers, you know. And a lot of time I would have to, you know, encourage them that, you know, it's okay, these things happen, you know, you sometimes you fall and you have to dust yourself off and just get back up, you know. It's the point is that you get back up and you try again, right? And I think at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing, right? Yeah.
100%. 100%. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, no, that is definitely, yeah. So I hope if you're watching, you know, if you're a single guy or whatever, that you take these words, you know, into consideration, and that you know, run with it, because it really does, you know. Sometimes, like you say, you just have to, you know, you just have you just have to wing it. You just have to try, you know. So
Yeah.
to go either way. Um, so yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for that. And what else
You're
did I
welcome.
say? So I know you said you're single, right? And you know, so I was just wondering, like, for all the single guys watching, what are like 3 or 5 traits that you look for, like any guy?
uh, Good communication skills. That's a huge one for me. I like somebody that not just communicates but brings like intellectual stimulation. Maybe it's just because I'm a Gemini. But you know, I personally I need that intellectual stimulation. You know, not everyone's the same, but I definitely need that. You can't just come to me with like a hey every other day and expect me to, you know, be content with that. I need substance in conversations, you know. I also like honesty, you know. Very much like honesty, whether it's good honesty or bad honesty, you know. I prefer that, you know. I also um funny, I love to laugh, you know, people that are humorous, that can bring jokes or just like a light humor. It doesn't always have to be anything too crazy. It's definitely a trait I look for. Loyalty is always big on the table. I don't want to have doubts of someone that I'm dating, because that's not fair, you know. And that comes through in character, right? So how you present yourself and how you show yourself to me, you know. If you're good, if you communicate and you're honest, I shouldn't have to doubt your loyalty, but I expect it nonetheless. um and then a nice smile. That's more of a physical trait, but I like a nice smile, I guess, you know. Maybe because I smile a lot and I laugh a lot, you know, I want someone that can match that kind of energy. Because I can be pretty goofy sometimes, so that's definitely part of the reason I need that humor, and you know, somebody that's not scared of being like a big kid, because I'm definitely a big kid. Definitely a big kid.
Okay. Well, everyone watching at home, those are the 5 things you look for. So if you meet all those qualifications, I'm including the link to her Instagram. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, but no. So, but thank you for that. No, but on that note, I am gonna close this interview out because I know we've gone a little bit longer than I thought. So, but
Yeah,
again, Maya, I want to thank you very much.
you're
This
welcome.
interview, I think this interview went really well. I had a good time. Man, also on that note, like, you know, if you do have social media, which I know you do, and people would like to follow you, would you be okay with them, you know, following you, or like, where can people find you?
Yeah, for sure. You know, my Instagram, I'm pretty sure it's Maya Moon Tarot. I could be mistaken, but you should be able to find me on Instagram, TikTok. I think I'm on Twitter. I'm pretty sure the name is the same across the board. So just Maya Moon Tarot. Usually you'll see my face, so you'll recognize that it's me.
Well, great. Yeah. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Everyone watching, if you made it to this video, good job. Like the fuck out of this video. Sorry. Subscribe, watch it, play it as background noise. Also, when you're bored or whatever, just so I get the clicks with it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Again, to my guest, thank you very much, Maya. I appreciate it, and you are always welcome to come back on the channel anytime. We'd love to have you back eventually. Everyone watching, thank you very much, and yeah, so thanks, Matt. All right, guys.
Thank you for
Bye.
having me.
All right.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Mhm.